Hi everybody, it's Cindy with Spark of Vintage. Welcome to our channel. If you're new here, we're so glad that you found us. And if you're joining us again, welcome back. Well, it's been a little hectic and a lot of work around here, but I could not pass up the opportunity to be a part of Sonnet's Garden Bloom September's Maker Box early release. Sonnet gave us the opportunity to preview the products and let our imagination and creativity run wild before the official release on Friday, September 13th. So I hope you enjoy the products that are ahead. I know you're going to love what's in the box. I have enjoyed subscribing so much. So sit back and enjoy. We have 5 projects for you today. And again, thanks for joining us. I was so honored to be a part of Sonnet's Maker's Box release and to be able to receive the products in advance and do some projects for her launch video this week. As you can see, you get a welcome card and a preview of all the fantastic products that are in each box. I could not wait to get making, so let's get started. When I received my Maker's Box, I knew immediately the first paper I wanted to start with was the Painted Photographer's Autumn Lantern. So I had this great piece of wood that I had thrifted. It needed a couple of coats of the DIY White Swan for some coverage to kind of cover up that black lettering. It only took 2 coats. The paint leveled out beautifully, and I thought it gave me really great coverage and a super smooth foundation to start with on the rice paper. Well, the glow of this lantern is what gave me the inspiration. And I knew I had in my stash some awesome molds from Prima Marketing Finnabar called Nocturnal Insects. These came out, I believe, last year. I did a quick resin pour on them, that 10-second cure resin, and I felt like these little moths were the perfect addition to the lantern and would give the project some dimension. Sometimes resin items are a little slick when you pour them, so I like to use some heavy body gesso from Finnabar. In this instance, I'm using black. It is similar to using the chalk paint. I just like to use the gesso first because it gives me a nice coating, and then whatever paint or wax I put on it, I know is going to adhere beautifully. So I went ahead and gessoed up all of my items so that I was ready to go and paint them and wax them whatever color I liked. I adhered the rice paper with DIY's liquid patina, and my tip for this would be to just take your time. Work in small areas, maybe individual strips. Connie's papers are extremely durable, they're vibrant, they do give you a lot of open time and bend, but just take your time. Slow steps are always better, and again, a really great result came out from using the DIY liquid patina. Once the liquid patina had dried, I went ahead and sanded down the edges of the rice paper. Again, it was very durable, but I used a very low grade and gentle sandpaper. Fortunately, I didn't capture attaching the bugs on the wood piece, but I did use heavy body gel, and also the chipboard piece that you see on there is from Tim Holtz. It's a small individual chipboard that I just shaved down a little bit to fit on the cover of the piece. I decided to use a very watered down whitewash kind of technique because I loved the grain that was in the wood and some of the knotting that I could see on the sides of the piece. So I used Tim Holtz Distress Walnut Stain Paint and gave it a very watery breakdown. thrifted this adorable bird at the Goodwill Men's, and I've had it in my stash for quite a while. I believe it is from Michaels from their Unfinished Wood Ashland collection. And once I saw the papers, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. So I applied a coat of white swan to both sides of the bird and sealed it as well with Big Top. I found the perfect mold from Finnabar. It is one of the earlier Prima marketing releases called Wings, and I knew these would fit perfectly on our little bird. I did paint the edges of the bird as well with DIY black velvet. Because the wings, again, were quick pour resin, I went ahead and used the heavy body gesso from Finnabar to cover the wings and give them a nice foundation for the painting of the project. I had covered the resin wings with Finnabar's heavy black gesso. That gives us the opportunity to add paint and have it adhere a little better. And then I also painted the bird on one side with black velvet from DIY, and the other side I decided to add Roy Cycles autumn flannel decoupage paper. For the wings, I used on one side DIY's Prairie Gray, and on the other side, I just stayed with the DIY Black Velvet paint. And then I added metallic waxes from Finnabar in antique bronze, vintage gold. I kind of did a variation of color, and I thought that dimension would add a really great interest to the piece and a little bit of elevation. And then the gold inspired me, and I thought, I will use my new gilded etiquette rub-ons that just came out from IOD over the summer. And I was really excited to use these products for the first time. There was so much to choose from in the DIY etiquette gilded rub-ons. They are, I will say, a little more gentle kind of rub-on, so you do want to come at them with a little bit gentler hand. But I found some great remnant pieces that I knew would look super on these birds. I found that the gilded rub-on transfers were very easy to work with, but did not need as much pressure as I normally apply when I'm working with the DIY transfers. But I was very happy with the outcome and really thought that gold popped beautifully on the backside of that bird. So for this next project, I used another piece that I thrifted at the Goodwill bins. This one was not solid wood. It is more of a composite piece, and it did have watermarks and staining on the sides, but I knew a couple of nice coats of DIY paint would cover that with no problem. So as with the other projects, I used DIY White Swan, and it only took about a coat and a half to cover it beautifully. Of course, I sealed the piece as usual with DIY Big Top. And again, just love using this little dipper brush for these smaller projects. There was so much to choose from on this beautiful masterboard, but this owl captured my heart. I took a pretty close estimate of the size of the piece and cut around on the masterboard, and then went ahead and started applying it with the liquid patina. Again, working in small sections and gently kind of going over the piece. Again, you don't want to overdo it or rework it. So we always want to work in slow steps and with a gentle hand. The owl felt so regal to me on this piece, but then I remembered I had some adorable Frank Garcia from Prima Marketing miniature molds in pumpkins, witches' hats, and the tiny potion bottles that I got from Finnabar in Prima Marketing last year as well. As I mentioned before, we had some water staining on the sides of this piece, but Prairie Gray from DIY covered it up beautifully. I used Summer Crush from the Maker's Box to paint the pumpkins. This is a wood sign that's been sitting around in my stash forever. As you can see, the blue paint is kind of fading out and out of date, and I thought it would be a fantastic piece to use with Royce's Autumn Masterboard. Once again, I had the perfect mold in my stash, and it was Flocking Birds from Finnabar. This masterboard had such a spectacular moon on it, but my only issue was the ducks were flying across the moon in the opposite direction. But I knew that flock of birds would cover those ducks perfectly. So I painted the birds with raven black paint from Sparks from Finnabar, and made sure that I made those birds look like they were in motion and coming off of the page. I have to admit, I was a little inspired by Alfred Hitchcock for this one. I added a touch of bronze wax from Finnabar, and then painted the edges with black velvet from DIY. I did have to be a little careful not to hit those birds that were coming off the edges, but I love how it looks like it's in motion. I was ambitious on this piece and decided to use a pumpkin I've had in my stash for quite a while. I decided to remove the raffia from the top of the pumpkin, but I still wasn't sure if I wanted to keep the metal pieces or not. I think as I was going along on the piece, I was trying to make up my mind exactly what I wanted to do and how much of the autumn flannel I wanted to use on the piece. But ultimately, I covered it initially with White Swan from DIY and then decided that the metal leaves were too much and I was just going to go with all autumn flannel decoupage on this piece. I was so excited with the summer release and these new bows that came out from IOD, and I knew that they would be a perfect addition to the large pumpkin. While I was waiting for my bows and the paint to seal, I went ahead and started trimming my pumpkin. Now I used an X-Acto knife, and again, remember there's little slats in this pumpkin. Looking back, I probably would have done it in individual pieces rather than one big sheet of decoupage paper, but all in all, everything came out great and I was happy with the results. It was really fun to use some of the IOD gilded etiquette transfers in a little bit larger sizes. Well, I hope you loved those projects and those decoupage papers and rice papers as much as I did. I am so looking forward to doing more projects in the weeks ahead using all of the items from my Sonnet's Garden Bloom Maker boxes. So again, stick around. We have a lot of great things coming up in the next few weeks. We're rolling out holiday. We've opened a couple of new booths. We're traveling and thrifting, so lots of great things ahead. So thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And in the meantime, happy thrifting and happy crafting. Take care, everybody. See you soon.